Hey folks, Kevin here. Well, it is March 19th, 2022, and I'm out here in the first food forest. Lots of cleaning up to get done out here, but greenhouse is over there, pond 5 is here, 4, 3, and so on. The workshop is over in that area, honey hut here. And so one of the big goals this spring is to get our blueberry field transplanted out there, which I'll walk down there in a few minutes. But if you've been watching the channel for a while, you know that this is where we had our blueberry patch, and I'm talking about the ones that we harvest from. So these are the cultivars that we harvest from. Here's some Patriots right here in front of us. And over here are our native blueberry bushes here, which are throughout the food forest between the peaches, the plums. This is a ginkgo here. But between all of the apples and pears and honey locusts and pawpaws and persimmons, everything out here. So those really help, and they help with the cross-pollination of the various blueberry cultivars that we grow from. So with the end of last week, what we ended up doing was we came out and removed the hoops. Now, we used to keep bird netting over the hoops, and I've made videos about that in the past, and you can go back and see how this looked before. But Thea and I came out, removed the hoops, removed the stakes that we had for raising up the height of the hoops. And our hoops are made out of 1/2-inch galvanized electrical conduit. And we had some 1/4-inch stakes that went in the ground, and we had several inches of the 1/2-inch conduit that raised the hoops up. So those 10-foot lengths of conduit were really lifted up. They're about 12 foot in length with a hoop that went over to give them some good height to protect them. But the deer had ripped through the bird netting, kept ripping through the bird netting. I wasn't maintaining good irrigation the last 2 years out here, even though there was a drip hose, a soaker hose going down here underneath the weed mat and all. And so this year we took off the hoops, took out the stakes, and removed all of the weed mat that was here. So that's one of the things we've been working on the last couple of days. So all of these are going to get transplanted out in back, along with the rest of the blueberry plants that are up in the western garden plot. And hopefully you could see those yesterday in a video that I posted yesterday. So this is the area that we've been working on. And we're going to have to dig these up. These are blueberry plants, love acidic soil. They're very shallow rooted plants. They require good drainage, and they require acidic soil and lots of moisture as well, but they need to be well drained. And without irrigating these, like I just hadn't had the time the last couple years, they've all suffered as a result. So we're going to try and rehabilitate them. And so this is all part of the first food forest going right over to the property line there, and some over in this area here. This is all food forest right up to the gardens up there. Please ignore the big messes out here. It's going to take quite some time for me to get everything cleaned up. So between pond 6 and pond 7, pond 6 is the pond. Last summer I came out with Elon, the Takuchi TB290, and dug this pond out. And it's all sand and gravel in here. So it completely drains right out, goes bone dry. So I'll decide ultimately what to do about this at some point in time. It may just end up being a vernal pool. There's also garden beds just on the other side of this pond that we did the cover crops in, and that we grew raspberry plants in the past. This is the area. Now this spillway, so this is the spillway for pond 6, nice and wide, passively flows through here. and then it goes down through a drainage spillway, the drainage swale going down to pond 7 down there, and that's the one 2 years ago that I dug out, and I'll dig it out again more the next drought that we have. This is the area that were the large hugelkultur systems that we put in years ago, both above ground and partially below ground. And we grew vegetables, everything from strawberries to potatoes to corn to squash to potatoes, you name it, we grew it back here. But it's so far away from the house, it just didn't make sense for us to have this as a kitchen garden. So we let this be abandoned for a while. Then the year before last, I came out here and I deconstructed the hugelkultur big mound that was here and took out a few logs, but most of the wood had broken down, and that really is over a 10-year period at this, well, about an 8-year period, because it was 2 years ago. I had the swale originally, this drainage swale was way over here, and I used to have pallets of pavers over in here. So I decided to cut the swale in closer to these trees, and I used Elon to do that, and I filled in the swale that was here from the material that I excavated out of this area, with hopes of fencing off this area to protect the blueberry plants from the deer browse. Will that protect it from the birds? Nope, not going to do it. So here's where we are at this point. So it undulates a little bit. So I brought the Hulk down here. That's the Takuchi TL12 V2. The V2 stands for the vertical lift. And I started smoothing out. Now, last year I had purchased a very large rototiller that could fit on the track loader. And it worked really, really well, but this was nothing but stone. And so I lost a lot of the good soil that I had here, and it was turning back to the gravel, with the exception of the places, like this is a hugelkultur indentation from the mounds that sunk. So I had hugelkultur area here, hugelkultur area here, and I had the big mound here. So you go back to 2012, you'll see some of these big mounds. It was much taller than me and much wider. And then I had 2 other mounds over there as well. So those, after smoothing this all out and removing the wood that hadn't decomposed, the area sunk a little bit more. So, and after stirring up all the stone last year, I had to remove all that stone, and that went into the roadways down and back. So the other day before yesterday, I came out here with the Hulk, and we took down some of the higher spots and filled in some of the lower spots. Why is this a good area for the blueberry patch here? Well, like the rest of the property, it slopes. So when we look at the northeastern corner is the highest point, and the southwestern corner is the lowest point. And I'm making that so it drains directly into pond 7. Blueberry plants can't stand wet feet, so we'll be putting these in somewhat mounds. They can't stand alkaline soil. This is fairly acidic soil, but will be I tried acidifying this even more 2 years ago. A year ago, it was either 1 year ago or 2 years ago, now I can't remember, with some ammonia. And then I did the rototilling, and then I put the cover crop in here last year. So the soil has been coming back, it has been improving, but I am disturbing it with what I'm doing now. So we will be building up mounds in here. I'll be purchasing a whole bunch of peat moss to help with soil conditioning. We've got some compost that's really not compost, it's decomposed old horse manure. So we'll be bringing some of that down here. I have leaf material that was deposited from the town cleaning up the cemeteries, so I have that material as well. But the width of this area from these T-posts and all is 90 feet. From the point where up by the swale is, it's 90 feet. We do have a hydrant here, so we can run our drip irrigation to all the blueberry plants. The black pipe here is another pipe that is for during the springtime, which I'm not doing this year. I can fill up all of those 275 gallon totes and they can gravity feed all of these systems here. So that's where we are with this right now. As a benefit of the rain, you can see we're water pools. So I've got to pull more of the soil so it can free flow down or go across the driveway area, because this will be part of the roadway area going down and going down into the zone 5 area, the forest down there, where I put in some roadways, but that's about it. So I have more of this material to move up into here to make it a nice gradual slope working its way down here. Then we have to build our mounds, make sure that the pH is appropriate, get this done soon so that we can get those shallow root plants transplanted down in here. And the ones that have weeds mixed in with our roots, we got to make sure those weeds are out of there as well. So that's where we are with this section here. I'll just walk over here and see where the drainage swale goes by. The mound here that keeps the drainage swale to this side is relatively small. It doesn't need to be very much, as long as the volume coming down can be pacified by the width of it. And I still have to work my spillway into pond 7 here. I've got a nice white birch there that's going to have too wet of feet there. But this is another roadway here that we'll be able to make our way around each one of the crop areas. I think I'll be putting the blueberry rows 9 or 10 feet apart, and I think the spacing will probably be about 4 feet apart. That's what I'm thinking at this point. I still have to do some more thinking, counting plants, looking at the space here, so that we can get around and manage in here as easily as possible. So that's about it, an update on the blueberry process, where we're going and what we're doing. If you have any comments or questions, please feel free to leave them below. And certainly, folks, if you found this of value, please give us a thumbs up and share it with your friends. That always helps out the channel. And stay safe and take good care of yourselves, and think about growing more food. Growing more food is like an investment in a good growth company. Take care now. Bye-bye.